Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Good morning everyone. Yes, today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 20th September 2021. Okay, so let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. But before starting today's lecture, as it is Monday, so we have started the new initiative called as Monday Motivation. And in this, what we are doing is we are trying to provide you some kind of motivational quotes, their understanding, how you can use these quotes in motivating your own preparation and the journey for this examination. Okay, so today's again Mahatma Gandhi's quote. It is talking about happiness is when what you think, what you say, what you do are in harmony. Okay, so this is a very important quote, and this can be asked in your ethics paper also. In our day-to-day life itself, be it let's say the aspirants of civil services or other people also, this quote is very relevant. Okay, so happiness, what is the true meaning of happiness is being explained by Gandhiji here, and he is saying that it is when what you think in your mind, what you say in your speech and what you do in your action is in harmony. Many a times what happens is what we think is not always what we do. Okay, so this creates some kind of, let's say, crisis in our conscience, and because of that crisis of conscience happens, we are not able to, let's say, process our thought process. We have some kind of feeling of guilt, remorse whenever we do something which we are not thinking, right? Or we can say that when we say something and when we are not doing that, we call it a double standard behavior. Right. So, yes, Ansari sir in ethics paper deals with such kind of, let's say, analysis in detail, but what is relevance of this let's say quote in your life? Many times what happens is we are not able to understand the true meaning of happiness. There was one question in UPSC examination in 2013 or 14 men's examination. What do you mean by happiness in your own life? There was first question like this in the paper, and this was the bouncer for student, because the students are not able to understand what is happiness, they are not thinking about it. So, first of all you need to think, let's say the true happiness is not, let's say, hedonistic pleasure or materialistic or consumeristic pleasure that we have in our day to day life. That is temporary, that is transitionary, we all know about this, and the long term happiness is achieving wisdom in your own life, as the Aristotle says. Okay, the highest aim of life, highest happiness of the life, we can say that the one which always seeks to achieve in life. Okay, so that is achieving wisdom, and that wisdom can be achieved when we have these three in harmony in our life. Our thinking process, thought process, our speech and our action, when they are in harmony, then the true happiness is always there. Okay, so try to implement this in your own life also. Yes. Now let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, so these are the important articles. First of all, what we will do is take the overview of all these articles, wherein we will understand the context of the article, at the same time how they are relevant to which part of our syllabus. So, first of all, men's related, on page number 7, a very good article written about social and emotional learning, SEL, which have been, let's say, emphasized in our national education policy NEP 2020. So, what is this social and emotional learning, its components or elements, the significance of SEL, as well as the challenges and the way forward. Okay, so this is very important from ethics paper GS4 as well as essay paper. You can yourself write this whenever the education related essay appears in your examination. Okay. Then we can talk about the second article on page number 6, a relationship between relative income and subjective well-being. Okay, so this article talks about whether the subjective well-being, or we can say that SWB, we are talking here, there are, let's say, two important approaches to understand the happiness in the life of the people. One is income approach, purely objective, and the second is in terms of happiness. Okay, so that is being called as subjective well-being, and how it is relevant, so connected to, we can say that relative income. What is this concept of relative income? This is important from GS3 paper, we can expect such kind of topic, or essay topic also. Okay, so we will try to take input from GS3 paper, economy part and essay paper. Then on page number 6, as a follow to COVID-19, we are again talking about prioritizing vaccination to those at risk. Some fact data is mentioned in the initial part. At present, the vaccination status in India and how many vaccines are required to vaccinate all the population by the year end, that data is important. And in the second part, it is talking about the risk population, especially when the educational institutions are being opened at the large scale. Okay. Yes. Then there is one article on page number 10 which talks about development of backward region. There is one district in Odisha which is severely backward in terms of economic development. Okay. And many of the research institutes, they collaborated with each other in 2019 to develop this district. Okay. So, such kind of case study every year appears in GS4 paper, that one region is severely backward region and there are problems of, let's say, lack of employment, there are problems of poverty, there are problems of, let's say, the women are facing health issues. This year there was a similar kind of case study, 2020 mains examination. Okay, so you can expect such kind of case study every year. The framing of the case study will be different. Okay, so you can use some inputs from this article, right. Then specifically prelims related development, there is one article on page number 10 which talks about Helena missile system. Helena means here helicopter based NAG, anti-tank missile. Okay, so what is this from science and technology and security perspective? For prelims examination it is important, on page number 10. Okay, and finally practice prelims MCQs. Okay, so first article on page number 7, empathy through education. See, such kind of, let's say, topic very important from ethics paper. This year there was one question on based on NEP. So, the significance of education, it was talking about not only individual well-being, it is talking about education as a part of, let's say, social transformation. It was talking about social transformation. So, you need to be aware about the provisions of NEP. Okay, so we can understand already UPSC asked question about NEP, but it can be asked in a different manner. Why? This social and emotional learning, it is mentioned in NEP, emphasized in NEP 2020, National Education Policy. That's why it becomes important. So, our educational policy, this new National Education Policy, it talks about not only about the quantitative aspect of education, but also qualitative in terms of social and emotional learning. Let us understand the meaning of social and emotional learning first. This SEL means that the child is able to understand, recognize emotions of self and other people and is able to use it or manage for solving societal issues or problems, or we can say that for socially desirable behavior outcome. Now you know that this is the definition of emotional intelligence, ethics paper. This is the definition of emotional intelligence, when the person is able to recognize, understand and manage not only the emotions of self but also others, and is able to manage those emotions so as to have the socially desirable outcome. So that is being called as emotional intelligence. Here we are talking about social and emotional learning. Okay, so one and the same thing. Now, what are the key elements of this SEL? First is empathy, and the second we need to understand here is that ability to understand emotions, or we can say that behavior, knowledge of other people. Okay, so understand or recognize. This is how we need to understand two important elements of this SEL. Empathy, we all know about empathy. It is very important value of even civil servants. So empathy is basically the ability of the person to feel what the other person is feeling at present and why he is feeling. So this is called as empathy. Suppose you see a person, let's say, who has met the accident on the road. Okay, so what you feel immediately is empathy with that person. Okay, and therefore immediately you try to intervene, try to help that person in every manner. Okay, in the similar manner, basically we can understand, we empathize with the person whenever we have a similar kind of experience. So ability to empathize with others, this is important element of SEL, and ability to understand the behavior, knowledge and emotions of other people. Basically we can say that it is social awareness. This can be called as social awareness, important component of emotional intelligence. This is also component of emotional intelligence. Okay, so both are important elements of social and emotional learning. Now what is the significance? Significance, very important. We can say SEL helps the children when they grow up or even during the educational life. So it helps in building social skills. What are these social skills? We can say that communication, behavioral competence, teamwork, okay, so communication, behavioral competence, teamwork. At the same time, it also helps in, we can say, long term success in life. We all know that the success in life is not limited to the professional success. It is also the overall success, right? And the overall success depends on how the person navigates through life, and it is both personal as well as public life, right? So, or we can say professional life, personal as well as professional life. So this can be navigated when the person is having a good interpersonal communicational skills. When the person is able to work in a team, it is being whenever Ansari sir gives this example in a classroom, you know, when the 4 scientists in an expert field, when they are kept in a one room and asked to work in a team, then there will be disaster. They will not be able to work in a team. This is what they say about the, let's say, the ability to work in a team. This is the problem. Why the people are not able to work in a team? This is because they do not have appropriate social skills. Okay. So interpersonal behavior, behavioral competence, how to behave with other people, not only at work but outside the work, at home also, in public places also. Okay, so this, when this is taught in the classroom or at school level, then the citizens of tomorrow, they become responsible citizen, or we can say that this becomes a very important human resource capital. This was asked first question 2020 mains examination. It was talking about comprehensive national power. So, component of comprehensive national power, human resource capital can be built when this is taught at school level. This is the significance of this SEL, we can say. Then what are the challenges posed by the pandemic here? Yes, surely the pandemic has restricted access to the education. Focus now is on completing syllabus. No interaction with peers. How the child will be able to learn the behavioral competence when he is not interacting with peers? The important, let's say, the the ground that was available or the area that was available for the children, when they were learning in the school, they were interacting with peers with different background, and because of that they had some kind of, let's say, behavioral competence, working in team activities, different let's say curricular and extracurricular activities happen at the school level. So this is not happening. This is the challenge at present. Okay, so this is also the opportunity. This is opportunity for the parents. This is opportunity for the parents to understand the level of SEL of child. As the parents are interacting more with children, they need to recognize this social and emotional learning levels of their own child. Okay, and this is the opportunity that parents are having with them at present, right? So the way forward, one can understand in the way forward is, first of all, yes, the SEL approaches of teachers and parents should converge. Okay, this should not be like the parents are teaching something else and the teachers are teaching something else to the students. Then the students will not be able to understand, or the children will not be able to understand what is right and what is wrong. There should be some congruence between these two, right? Whatever the teacher is saying at the school, the same thing should be there, that parents are also teaching same values. Otherwise, the child will not be having appropriate moral development. Second thing we should understand is that SEL should be part of curriculum, or we can say it should be integrated into the curriculum and not just one, let's say, additional course which is not evaluated, okay, or assessed, right? It should be integrated into the mainstream curriculum, right? At present, just let's say 9th or 10th standard CBSE level curriculum provides for such kind of thing. Otherwise, there is no main part of curriculum talking about this SEL and its evaluation. Okay, so as a way forward, you can mention like this. What could be the question? Learning process is the social and emotional experience. Such kind of statement can be asked directly in your mains examination. Okay. So in this respect, discuss the significance of social and emotional learning mentioned in India's National Education Policy 2020. Try to attempt this question on the basis of discussion we had. Okay, any question? Okay. So next article, relative income and subjective well-being connection. Yes. So what is the connection between these two? But before that, let us understand the two approaches to measure well-being of the people. Well-being is very important concept in economy. Okay, so it is part of, we can say, economic development, or in terms of social empowerment. All these human well-being is always talked about. So what are these two approaches? One is objective approach on the basis of, let's say, income or expenditure. So how much amount of income person is having, how much amount the person is saving or doing expenditure, objective basis. So objective criteria is available. This is one thing. Second important criteria, or we can say approach, is here happiness, or we can say subjective well-being, SWB. SWB, subjective well-being. Okay, so this subjective well-being criteria, or let's say approach, uses a different aspect and not only one objective criteria. It, let's say, tries to cover the gender aspect, age aspect, or we can say employment levels, in addition to income. Okay, in addition to income, gender, age, employment aspect is there. Then we can say social environment and natural environment that the person is having. Many a times, let's say, people living in Delhi, what happens during the Diwali pollution or a smog that happens? So despite of high income levels, suppose living in a very good society, they are also facing problems. They are not happy there. Okay, so in the same manner, the social, suppose, let's say, people are living in a society which is always having some kind of social conflict, be it caste, or we can say that the communal riots are happening, or such conflicts are there. So people will not be happy, and when people will not be happy, there will be no well-being. This is to some extent subjective. That's why we are saying that subjective well-being. Okay. Now, after understanding these two approaches, there are different concepts, but one thing we should understand is relationship between relative income and subjective well-being. Okay. Before that, there is one argument. It says that subjective well-being and income are positively related, but at diminishing rate. That means we all know that increase in income leads to happiness. Whenever we get promotion at work, there is happiness. Whenever there is hike in a salary, there is happiness. Or we can say to some extent it contributes to well-being. However, this relationship diminishes after some point of time. This is what the Easterlin paradox that was developed by Easterlin in 1973 says about this. What is this paradox is about? So, the paradox says that suppose we are drawing this graph, and it is saying that these are income levels, and this is, we can say that, the happiness. Okay. So, this, whenever the income increases in the initial period, suppose, the happiness also goes on increasing. But after some period of time, there is no fixed thing, we can say that whether happiness will increase or decrease. This is called as paradox, or we can say that the Easterlin paradox. Why? Rich people are also not happy. Rich people are also doing suicide. They are also facing psychological problem. Mental stress is always there, right? So they are not happy, we can say, or the well-being is not there despite of having wealth. Are you getting this? So this is the dilemma. Next thing we should understand is that individuals adapt to material goods, and these goods yield little joy for most individuals. You can see that at the different levels of age, like in childhood, when the father gave us, bought us that video game. Okay, so we were continuously asking father that I want that video game, I want that video game, and when father buying that video game, after 1 week or 2 weeks of that, we are not playing that video game. Okay, why we are doing that? Because this is our hedonistic pleasure. Okay, so we adopt to such material goods, and later on these goods are not giving us pleasure or happiness. Okay, so suppose we are buying a bike, okay, expensive bike is bought, and we are feeling very good, let's say riding that bike for 1 month, 2 months, but what happens after that? It remains in the dust for long period of time. Okay, so this is how the hedonistic pleasure is resulting when we are attached to material goods, right? So this is, we are talking about relationship between income, but what is relative income? The authors or writers of this article, they have done or analyzed the data of different surveys, and they are saying that relative income is different. Yes, income in the objective criteria, that is fine, but relative income means that my income relatively with the other people in a society that I am living with. So that becomes the relative income. Okay, and when that relative income is increasing, then the subjective well-being also increases. This is the conclusion of that analysis of data. So lower the relative income, lower the subjective will, or higher the relative income. That means suppose you are moving up economically in the society that you are living in. That means there is relative income increase. Okay, comparative to others in the society. So that means that this is having some kind of connect with the society or the other people living in the society. Okay, so this relative income and subjective well-being is connected in this manner, and that's why the writers feel that there should be shared growth. The focus should be on shared growth. Why? Because whenever there is rich poor divide that we are facing in our society, okay, rich poor divide in our society is actually increasing in recent times. Basically it is how the people are actually, their relative income is reducing. Try to understand, those poor people or even let's say lower middle class people, they are falling into the bracket of below poverty line or low income groups. This is reduction of relative income. This reduces subjective well-being. Try to understand this, and therefore there should be shared growth. That means this should be reduced. Okay, and yes, whatever the society that we are envisioning or our forefathers has envisioned, egalitarian society, okay, on the basis of equality. So our constitution also talks about DPSPs are mentioned, directive principles of state policies. Socialistic DPSPs are there, which talks about distribution of the wealth as important objective of the state. Okay, so in this manner we should understand this connection. Try to implement this in your essay paper. Whenever it is talking about sustainable development or let's say economic inequality in our society, happiness, well-being, human well-being, so use this analysis in your essay paper also. Okay? Yes. Moving on, a spike. There is one editorial on page number 6. It talks about, let's say, first of all, some data and facts about the present vaccination on 17th September, birthday of our Prime Minister. 2.5 crore record vaccination in one day happened as a gift to our Prime Minister. There was concerted actions by different agencies. This is good thing. This should be continued. Okay, so this is first data. Second, we should understand about 62% of population received at least one dose and 1 in 5 people fully vaccinated at present in India. Okay, and let's say to vaccinate all people we at least need 180 crore doses by year end. This data is there, and we need to vaccinate 1 crore or provide let's say or inoculate 1 crore vaccines on daily basis. This should be the rate of vaccination. Facts, data about the present status of vaccination. The analysis, yes, we should not put down guard because still we are witnessing on daily basis around 30,000 such infections. There is also concern regarding waning immunity. The immunity after 3-4 months after giving this boost or we can say dose also immunity reduces, and emergence of variants, that is also cause of concern. Educational institutions set to open in a big way in the country, let's say especially the school as well as colleges, higher education, and therefore it will expose the unvaccinated children. So this is also the cause of concern remains. There is so far no discernible vaccine skepticism and hesitancy. So to some extent we have overcome this problem. We have been discussing in last 3-4 months about vaccine hesitancy, okay, especially before that second wave, right, and after that mostly people accepted the scientific evidence and effectiveness of these vaccines. So as a way forward, two important aspects: center must prioritize vaccines to the states and districts at greatest infection risk, and second thing is that follow up with vaccine makers to speed up their supplies in line with their commitments. So production and supplies, and the government should focus on prioritizing this vaccination to those states and specifically districts which are vulnerable or at risk. Okay, in this manner we should have follow up to COVID-19 vaccination. Next, research and development labs transform livelihoods in Odisha's poorest district. See, the title of the article says about this. There can be framing of the case study on this basis of this article, like with 56% of tribal, 15% of Dalit population, Nabarangpur district in Odisha has lowest per capita income in Odisha. 50% of its working population does not have any work. That means unemployment is at highest level. Now, in 2019, consortium of 12 national research and development laboratories join hands in a rare efforts to transform livelihoods at this district, one of the poorest district of India. Now, after let's say collaboration, what they have done? So they have tried to provide the employment, they have tried to impart certain skills to these people, they had tried to promote the entrepreneurship in certain fields which are sustainable and we can say in long term viable. Okay. So for example, a 3-day training by scientists of Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore, propelled let's say some of the people, like one person aged 30 from being housewife to chocolate maker. Her handmade chocolates help her earn 30,000 per month. Okay, so a Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture, Bhubaneswar, conducted number of refresher courses and live demonstration on scientific fish farming, and now the fishing sector is flourishing. Up till now there was import of all these fishes. Okay, so this was happening the problem at that time. Then there is Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants, Lucknow. It has also provided some high yielding varieties of turmeric named CIM Pitambar, or we can say NBRI's Keshri variety of turmeric, and this has helped to increase the yield and ultimately the income of the farmers. Okay, so whenever such kind of case study is asked in the ethics paper, try to provide the empirically evident, or we can say that whenever already such kind of, let's say, efforts have been made at the ground, they are more effective when you write in your answer. Okay, so you can use this in your case study also, that scientific institutions or research and development institutions, they can collaborate, they can adopt such district. Okay, and they can provide some skill development, they can provide some research related or technology related demonstrations, so as to augment the livelihoods of the people and income of the people. Fine? Okay. Now specifically for prelims related developments, anti-tank missile completes all trials. Okay, we are talking about Nag anti-tank missile and different variants of this Nag missile. Here specifically Helena. Helena is helicopter based Nag. Helena is helicopter based Nag. Now this technology is, let's say, the trials are completely done, and specifically Indian Air Force is inducting the variant of Helena named Dhruvastra. Okay, such names from Hindu mythology are given here. Remember them, they can be asked in the prelims examination directly. Okay, Dhruvastra is to be inducted in Indian Air Force. Remember this. Helena, we are talking about helicopter based Nag system, this is common, but for Air Force this is being called as Dhruvastra. Now basics about this Helena, third generation fire and forget anti-tank guided missile mounted on indigenous advanced light helicopter. Okay, LHA is there, light helicopters. It has minimum range of 500 meters and maximum range of 7 kilometer. Okay, 500 meters, 7. All weather day and night capability is there. At the same time, this Helena is having the land attack version called as Prospina. It is called as Prospina. You need to remember these names. Okay, and specifically for which particular arm of armed forces. Now we know that Nag anti-tank guided missile, this is part of integrated missile development program that was initiated in 1980s under the leadership of APJ Abdul Kalam at that time. Okay, so this is being developed by DRDO and different laboratories of DRDO. Other important missile systems developed under this program like Agni is there, different variants of Agni, Agni 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ICBM is also there. Then Akash, Prithvi, these are the examples. Okay, so from time to time whenever they are in news, like some of these missile systems are tested, so you need to have follow up for prelims examination. Okay, now try to attempt this question on the basis of the earlier information. Simply straightforward question can be asked, fact based or information based. Yes, just now we understood Helena or helicopter based Nag. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So Nag variant that is being inducted into Air Force, specifically you need to remember the name. Dhruvastra is correct answer. Okay. So yes, Prospina land based variant is there. Namika is different one, and MP. Basically you should remember Nag is being developed into 5 variants. Okay, 5 different variants are there. You need not to remember the other names, but you should be remembering which are these at present in news. Okay, so like this Dhruvastra is there or Prospina is there. Okay, so yes, these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Any specific question related to them?
Sir, I have a general question related to education.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, as per the previous history, is there any script or any language script has been destroyed due to the not development, not restricted by the ruler? Is there any presently any one of the state has been not introduced, they already closed some of the local languages. They closed the graduation and school. What is the impact of the state? Like art and culture and regarding it. They have closed the local languages and graduation and local languages.
Yes, yes. Local languages and the education in the local language or mother tongue. So, this has been from time to time an important part of discourse in the education policy. Okay. So, this particular NEP 2020 emphasizes on education in the mother tongue. Okay. And this has been extended up till now. Whatever the education policy was there, the emphasis was only on up to elementary education or primary education in mother tongue. But now the NEP emphasizes this extension to the higher education also for inclusive education or more access to the education and harnessing our demographic dividend. What happens at present is many a times the children are taking education in their mother tongue or local languages up to 10th standard or 12th standard, and after that immediately in higher education or at the graduation level most of them have to shift to the English language, right, because reputed educational institutions, they are not providing the courses in the local language. This is the major concern, and this is how recently we discussed that our Prime Minister launched those curriculums in some of the reputed institutions. Engineering courses, they are being provided in the local language. Such curriculum is being devised now. Okay. So, earlier whatever the measures, especially by the state governments, they have been taken, like English language is introduced at the elementary level, or there is some kind of, let us say, the focus is being given on the English language here, right. So, this should be now change, and this is going to change in future. There should be option available to the students, right.
According to my perspective, I am thinking some words are whether it is correct or not. If the mother tongue has been fully, they are stopped from local, from lower school to graduation. Is there any chance to identify the local literature and local scripts in future for further coming generation? They have no any idea. They will not get any idea to even to study of their property documents also. Whatever the land properties they have from their forefathers, they are not able to read any script or any local language. Even the local statement also, they are not able to read that such type of statement from the. This impact may come or not, sir, by destroying of local language.
Yes, yes, surely that is the major problem. Try to understand all over the world, their indigenous languages are promoted. Okay, be it European countries, China, Japan or other countries, the focus is always on indigenous languages. Okay, so that's why we also need to understand that our indigenous languages, mother tongue, they are part of our heritage, they are a part of our culture. Whatever the scripts that we are having of our, let us say, ancient and medieval history, and this is actually part of heritage, and that should be promoted further. The languages and the curriculum or those resources should be made available in those languages. Even if it is suppose available in English language, it should be translated in those local languages, right, and then we can say that sufficient resource. Take example of UPSC examination. Why students are not taking their local language? Because all UPSC is giving option. All the 22 languages which are mentioned in our 8th schedule of Indian Constitution, right. So, any candidate can give the examination in those languages, but people are not opting for that. Most of the people are opting for English language, even though they have done graduation or 12th level study in local language. Why? Because the study material is not available. Why? Because study material is not available. When the study material is available, then the students will be, let us say, studying that, and we can say that it will further develop those languages. Okay. Yes, fine. Okay then. So let us stop. We will meet tomorrow, and yesterday's current affairs you will receive the recorded video. Fine. Thank you.
Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.